Tucked away in the quiet town of Brookings, South Dakota, where life moved slowly and the horizon seemed endless, lived a boy who would become the subject of one of the state's most chilling psychological mysteries. His name was Thomas Reed, a pale, reserved child with an unnerving calmness that unsettled everyone who met him. He wasn't the type to cause trouble or talk back. He was the type to sit in the corner of the classroom, sketching in silence, eyes fixed on nothing in particular. Neighbors described him as polite but strange, too quiet, they'd say, like he's always thinking about something you can't see. No one could have guessed that behind that stillness was a mind that viewed life and death not as opposites, but as curiosities to be studied. From a young age, Thomas had a fascination with control. His teachers noticed it during art class, where he'd draw symmetrical patterns that looked almost like maps or symbols. He rarely smiled, and when he did, it was faint and fleeting, as if he was mimicking what he thought a smile should look like. His parents, both hard-working locals, didn't pay much attention to his odd habits at first. But over the years, they began noticing small, unsettling signs, a growing detachment from emotion, a lack of empathy, and an intense, almost clinical curiosity about things that frightened other children. When asked in school what he wanted to be when he grew up, Thomas wrote, "Someone who understands how people stop working." The teacher dismissed it as childish weirdness. Later, she would call a warning. By the time he was 11, strange events began to ripple through Brookings. Pets started vanishing, and strange shapes were seen in the cornfields near the Reed property. Some locals claimed to hear a child humming late at night by the old barn, a tune that didn't sound familiar, soft but haunting. The Reed family dismissed it as gossip, but within months, one of Thomas's classmates, Eli Matthews, was found dead near a creek outside town. The police ruled it a tragic accident, though some officers quietly admitted that the scene felt off. What struck them most was Thomas's composure during questioning. He didn't fidget, didn't cry, just stared at them and answered politely. The lead detective later described it as talking to a boy who had already practiced how to act human. Following the incident, Thomas's behavior shifted even further. He began keeping a notebook filled with symbols, numbers, and odd phrases, fragments of sentences like "stillness is peace," and "they all look the same when the light goes out." His parents brought him to a local psychologist, but Thomas refused to cooperate. During the session, he simply asked the doctor if he ever thought about what it would be like if everything suddenly stopped. When the therapist pressed him, Thomas smiled faintly and said, "I just want to understand things people are afraid of." The remark unsettled the doctor so deeply that he filed a quiet report with the county. It was the first time anyone officially documented that something was seriously wrong with the boy. Then, a disappearance shook the neighborhood. Mrs. Lambert, an elderly woman who lived nearby and often baked cookies for the local kids, went missing one cold autumn evening. The only clue was her back door, left open to the wind. Search parties scoured the area for days, but she was never found. During interviews, Thomas seemed almost interested. He asked officers how long someone could stay missing before people stopped looking. His question was clinical, not cruel, but it chilled everyone who heard it. When police asked why he wanted to know, he replied, "Because people forget faster than they think." Rumors spread, and soon the Reeds became isolated. Thomas's classmates avoided him, and even adults crossed the street when they saw him coming. The family's once friendly neighbors now whispered that something about that house felt wrong. The lights flickering at odd hours, the sound of pacing footsteps in the attic, and Thomas's habit of staring out the window for hours, unmoving. His father tried to discipline him, hoping to toughen him up, but it only made the boy colder. Teachers noticed new drawings in his notebooks. No faces, no people, just shapes of empty houses and figures standing in shadows. Every page looked like a quiet scream. On an October night in 1999, a fire broke out at the Reed home. It burned so fiercely that firefighters could see the glow from miles away. When they arrived, they found Thomas outside, unharmed, sitting on the grass and watching as the flames consumed everything. He was eerily calm, almost peaceful, as if he'd been expecting it. His parents were gone, and the small town of Brookings would never be the same again. Investigators later discovered that the fire had started in multiple rooms at once, and though they couldn't prove how, the evidence pointed towards something deliberate. Thomas was taken into custody for evaluation. Inside the psychiatric facility where he was placed, doctors struggled to reach him. He didn't show anger or fear, only curiosity. He spent his days observing the staff, asking strange questions about their dreams, their families, and whether they ever woke up in the middle of the night feeling watched. One nurse reported finding him standing at the mirror for hours, whispering to his reflection. On his bedroom wall, he had written a single sentence in pencil. "It's quiet when you understand everything." Specialists concluded that Thomas suffered from early-onset psychopathy, an extremely rare and dangerous condition for someone his age. Years later, when Thomas turned 18, his records were sealed, and his name disappeared from public databases. No one knows whether he was transferred to an adult facility, adopted a new identity, or released into society. Yet in Brookings, people still whisper about him. Some say they've seen a tall man with pale skin walking near the old Reed property, humming that same haunting tune heard years ago. Others claim that when you pass by the ruins of the Reed house late at night, lights flicker inside for a few seconds, even though there's no electricity. Whether Thomas Reed ever truly left Brookings, or whether something of him still lingers there, remains one of South Dakota's quietest, most chilling mysteries. If you found this story chilling or thought-provoking, don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends. You never know who might be fascinated by stories this dark. And if you enjoy exploring the hidden corners of real-life mysteries and psychological horror, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon. Tak aap koi next kahani miss na carrion. Your support keeps these stories alive. Bell.